After the plans of the nefarious space pirates were thwarted in the first Metroid game, it befell the Galactic Federation to ensure this newfound life form could never again be manipulated. They sent several teams to SR388 to ensure the aliens were forever destroyed. Of course, all squads deployed didn't return, so they turned instead to the original savior, one Samus Aran. While exploring SR388, Samus finds that indeed the Metroids have begun to repopulate. Not only that, but they've started mutating into bigger and badder forms, from small jellyfish-like creatures to large lizard-like beasts. Now, I don't want to ruin the storyline for you because it really is a good one. I'll just say that the ending of this game leads perfectly into Super Metroid that would come in 1994 on the Super Nintendo. Overall, it might well be the most pivotal plot in the franchise, as it not only gives more credence to what happened in the first game, but also sets up the culminating events in Metroid Fusion. Players of any of the old-school style Metroid games, i.e. not the Metroid Prime ones, will be familiar with this style. It's a platform shooter with a handful of RPG and semi-linear adventure elements. The word Metroidvania is used as a subgenre these days, but originally referred to later Castlevania games that were done in this Metroid style. For those unfamiliar, we're talking from the PS1 game Symphony of the Night and the Game Boy Advance DS games such as Harmony of Dissonance and Circle of the Moon. Go back earlier than those to 1987 when the original Metroid was released, and you have one of the earliest interpretations of the idea. This game took the established platforming game idea and added this element of discovery to it. Not only are you running, jumping, and shooting, but you also have to find your way around a labyrinthine area. I don't want to call it non-linear, really, because there is a certain path through these games that you need to follow, with not a great deal of deviation. You often can't access certain parts until earlier sections have been beaten and a power-up of some kind collected. You jump with A and fire with B, but there's a slight intricacy to your jumping that you may not figure out straight away. It's very helpful to know about it though, and your movement is greatly benefited by it. If you press jump and a direction simultaneously, or while holding a direction, Samus will perform her famous somersault jump. This becomes useful when you have the spring ball and screw attack power-ups later on, as this is how you activate them. The problem with this jump is that your forward momentum continues until you land, which can make landing on narrow platforms tricky. If delicate, accurate jumps are needed, jump and then press a direction after. Samus won't do her flippy thing and is much more controllable in the air this way. There is an assortment of weapons throughout the game, a sinusoidal shot, an ice beam, and a triple shot amongst others. You find them periodically through the game as orbs held up by these Chozo statues, called Artifactor statues in this game. They all have infinite ammo, but you can't carry them all around with you. If you want to switch back to an earlier weapon, you'll need to return to the statue where you found it and pick it up. I probably wouldn't worry about it though, as each weapon you come across is an improvement on the last, and only right at the end of the game is it beneficial to change back. Without spoiling the ending, there's a particularly vicious enemy in the final area that it's useful to freeze just before firing missiles at, so you need the ice beam back. Fortunately, just before you enter this section, the game gives you one anyway, so it's implied that you'll need it soon. If you're familiar with other Metroid games, you'll no doubt remember the doors that you need to fire missiles at, or some other weapon, in order to open and progress. You're not on a space station or anything like that, you're in the bowels of a planet, with the only constructs being those of a ruined city. So your path is instead blocked and dictated by lava. You need to kill a certain number of Metroids in each section. You can see how many by pausing the game, and the number in the bottom right changes. After which an earthquake or rumbling will occur, and the lava will recede, allowing you to progress deeper into SR388's heart. There's a kind of central hub where the lava is. If the main song of the game is playing, then that's where you are, and the sections all pretty much branch off from it. So while you still don't have a map, Super Metroid on the SNES was the first in the series to feature a navigation screen. This game is more easily navigable than the original. If you're stuck where to go next, you can just return along the path you're on until the main theme starts up again, and you won't be far off, just head downwards. The game has a battery in it, still quite a rarity at this point in time, and you can save 3 different adventures. You can't cheese this though, you need to find a short column in-game and press start. They're sparsely spread out, I think there's only 5 or 6 in the whole game. If you die, you need to restart at the last point you saved. Metroid 2 bucked a convention that had unwittingly been established by this point. It had mostly dark backgrounds. A lot of earlier games strayed away from this because of the potential for screen blurring, but Metroid 2 really made it work, and it adds to the ominous, gloomy atmosphere. Sure, the backgrounds don't have a ton of variation in them, but the enemies sure do, and all look great. The mutation sequences of the Metroids are cool as hell, and the environment is easily identifiable, which is, in all honesty, a massive achievement. Also, with the development of the Game Boy Color, some 7 years later, a special Metroid 2 palette was programmed into it, which helps this game resemble that of the NES original. Quite something. This game divides opinion for some reason. It seems that fans of the original game like it as more of the same, but other more retrospective players sometimes cite the cut-back approach taken in comparison to Super Metroid. I hate comparing Game Boy games to their home console equivalents, especially when they're not contemporaries of each other, as they're totally different mediums with different requirements and objectives. The fact of the matter is that there's nothing else like this on the Game Boy, and we are so lucky that it exists, because if you base the game on the host system and its capabilities, you'll realize that Metroid 2 is a phenomenal accomplishment. Thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts on the game down below, and if you can spare a second, give the review a quick thumbs up, it really helps out. Subscribe to the Portable Power podcast for a new Game Boy review every day from Monday to Friday. Or alternately, new episodes of the podcast drop every Saturday and Sunday on whichever platform you get your pods. See you later on.